Consuelo took out a thin folder she had been silently keeping on her lap and placed it on the table. Without raising her voice or showing any emotion, she began to speak with a precision that made it clear everything she was about to say had been carefully considered for months. There was no anger in her tone, only an organized coldness that made each word carry more weight. She began by talking about Rodrigo. As Consuelo laid out facts and described his behavior, the narrator glanced sideways at Patricia, who was holding her cup without drinking. Her expression wasn't one of surprise, but of relief, as if someone were finally speaking aloud a truth she had long endured in silence. Then Consuelo moved on to talk about Andres. Marcela, normally expressive and boisterous, remained completely still, not intervening, with that brief expression that belied the happiness she always feigned. Afterward, Consuelo turned her gaze to the narrator and spoke about Felipe. What she described wasn't entirely new, but it was definitive. Patterns of behavior, attitudes, and details that the narrator had seen before, but had chosen to interpret differently to avoid facing reality. Now, everything fell into place with painful clarity. Finally, Consuelo spoke with Sofia, the youngest of the group. What she said about Daniel was briefer, but just as serious. Sofia, who still retained a certain innocence, ended up with tears welling in her eyes, tears that hadn't yet dared to fall. When Consuelo finished, silence fell over the table. Outside, the men continued laughing, oblivious to what was happening inside. The four women took their coffee cups in an almost automatic gesture, as if that small act helped them to stand firm. It was then that Consuelo added something that completely changed the situation. She said that she hadn't only told everything out of honesty, but because there was a deeper reason. She revealed that one of the women present wasn't who she appeared to be. For years, one of them had been informing the men about what was said at those meetings. The betrayal was right there at the table. The four women looked at each other in silence, trying to decipher any sign of guilt in each other's faces, knowing that the others were doing the same. Consuelo then focused her attention on the coffee cups. 3 were partially empty. 1 remained untouched. She pointed to that cup and, with absolute calm, explained that the only reason for not drinking the coffee served in her own house was to suspect it contained something inappropriate. And the only way to know was to have been warned beforehand. The tension became unbearable. Sofia, the owner of the untouched cup, burst into tears. Her hands trembled as she confessed that she had been manipulated by Daniel. He had pressured her to spy on the others, threatening to disinherit her if she didn't cooperate. Even that morning, he had warned her to be careful what she consumed, implying that Consuelo had prepared something suspicious. Consuelo, without flinching, clarified the truth. The coffee wasn't poisoned, just a pinch of salt. It wasn't a death trap, but a test. The real poison, she said, was in her son's mind, which had contaminated their relationship from the start. Then she opened the folder. Instead of incriminating evidence, it contained 4 envelopes with each of their names on them. Inside were financial documents, properties in their names, and a lawyer's contact information. Consuelo explained that for years she had watched her children repeat the same harmful patterns as their father, controlling, manipulating, and sowing doubt in their partners. Secretly, she had been preparing a way out for them. That money and those documents represented independence, freedom, and a real opportunity to break the cycle. The reaction was immediate. Patricia couldn't hold back her tears. Marcela showed unwavering resolve. The narrator felt years of doubt dissipate, and Sofia clutched her envelope as if it were her only salvation. Consuelo stood up and made it clear that the final decision rested with them, but she assured them that no woman in that family would ever again live a lie. Then she opened the door to the garden. Outside, the men's laughter stopped when they saw her. The 4 women stood up together. They left behind their cups, including the one containing the salty coffee, a symbol of the betrayal they had uncovered. United, they walked toward the garden, ready to face the truth and take control of their lives.